Hello, my name is Sharla Colvin. Today is January 23rd, 2012. I'm from the Guildhall, Cohort 17, and this is part 6 of our series of videos covering Kismet in UDK December 2011 beta. I will be briefly showing how UnrealScript can be used to make custom Kismet nodes. I have already set up a project with the Infringe add-on for Visual Studio 2010. And have a few custom classes linked to a sample level in UDK. At the end of the video, I will be connecting one of these custom classes to the Kismet sequence created in the other videos. Before we dig into UnrealScript syntax, I will quickly run the level and provide an overview of the Kismet sequence. As you will see in the box level, there are two small platforms out in front of the character. Each one has a touch trigger sitting on them. The one on the right activates a custom action on the player that fires off an event. Between the two of them, a message appears on the screen, and a pair of log messages appear in the console window. Log messages in the console window are very useful for debugging, and I suggest using them as often as possible in UnrealScript code as a best practice for catching bugs, both for the programmer and the Kismet editor. The left trigger toggles a light variable that turns off and on the room's lighting, and also sends a logging message to the console window. Here in the Kismet editor are the two triggers from the right and left, shown below and above respectively. The trigger on the right, trigger 1, fires off a custom action. This custom action has an internal damage to deal variable set to 3, and the usual input and output for actions. When we take a look at how this action is handled, we'll see it activates the custom event over here independently. And this custom event can be used to start a different Kismet sequence elsewhere. The custom event also has a property in it, titled Message to Print. The other trigger, trigger 0, uses another custom action to toggle a Boolean light variable, which is in turn used to control a toggleable light. I realize this is a rather convoluted way to do this, but the purpose is to show how a Kismet node links to a variable, affecting variables and sequence flow. A trigger activates this custom action called lock action, which will toggle the light Boolean. This blue comparison node tests the Boolean value when lock action is finished, toggling this light on and off. Now, onto the main event, UnrealScript. The first node we'll take a look at is a custom action. Actions extend from the sequence action, and this kind of syntax will appear at the top of every Kismet sequence node, showing what class in the hierarchy this class derives from. All Kismet nodes at the base level derive from sequence object, and executable nodes such as events and actions derive from sequence op. These two files are important to examine for a deeper understanding of the code behind Kismet. After inheritance, we see the damage to deal variable we noticed earlier in the Kismet editor. The parentheses after var indicate that this variable is exposed to Kismet and can be edited within the UDK editor, allowing us to change the value ourselves. The event activated function is part of the sequence op base class, and is executed whenever an executable node is activated, making it a good function to overload for Kismet sequence functionality, In the default properties block, the object category and object name determine where the Kismet node can be found in the Kismet editor. In this case, the node can be located under TGP2 Research Actions, Custom Action. The handler name is used to create handles for the action for other objects that will need to respond to the action's execution. In order to demonstrate an action handler, we move to a custom pawn. Pawns are not Kismet nodes, but in cases like these, there is functional Kismet sequence code included in the class. The custom action broadcasts the on-screen message seen when the right button is touched, and logs a message featuring a value passed in via action object in the parameter. Syntactically, the function bears the name of the handler name variable in sequence action custom action. And it receives an instance of the class as a parameter. It then broadcasts the shown message "My Kismet function worked" and logs the damage to deal value into the command window. As you can see, it also triggers the custom event, which we will return for in a moment. In order to play a game with this action affecting the main player, a special type of deathmatch is created. Here, our custom pawn is the default pawn used, and we make sure that by default, a physics gun is given to the player. The custom event has an object category and object name, just like the custom action, for accessing it in the Kismet editor. In this case, it is under TGP2 Research Events, Sequence Event Custom Event. Switching bPlayer only to false lets the event be activated by objects that are not players. In addition, it has an exposed variable named message to print that has been defaulted to custom event message. In the Kismet editor, message to print has been rewritten to be custom event message. So that is the message that will be printed when this event is fired. In the Kismet sequence, the event is disconnected from the rest of the nodes. But in the pawn class, it is activated with a global trigger, showing that events can be fired and Kismet sequences activated from anywhere in the Kismet editor without having to be expressly connected to other nodes. Finally, the lock action node will show how to toggle a Boolean variable, demonstrating the technique for adding new links to the input, output, and variable links of a Kismet node. On lock action, there's an input, an output, and a Boolean variable link. Because the base class, sequence action, creates a variable link already, we need to empty the variable links array and add our own at index 0. The expected type is of the class sequence variable bool. The label desired in the Kismet editor for the link is simply bool, which shows up here at the bottom of the lock action, and the member variable, bool target, is the property name that we wish to link. Notice that the bool target variable is technically not exposed to Kismet. Instead, it is a variable linked to lock action via variable link. When activated, this action will toggle the attached Boolean variable, switching the light on and off and logging the current state of the attached Boolean variable. Now I've switched back to the other level that we've been working on to implement the lock action node in place of the provided toggle action. In the level, we will use the lock action node to edit the Boolean lock variable when the door switch is pressed. We'll go ahead and delete this toggle action, and in its place, find our TGP2 research action, lock action. The event that will activate the lock action is the button on the wall next to the door, and the Boolean variable that we want it to affect is this Boolean variable representing whether the door is locked or unlocked. Now that it's all connected, we should be able to run the level and see it in action, working just as it had before, except with our own custom Kismet node. The door is unlocked, and after pressing the button, the door is locked. So all of that functionality between the button and the light and the door still works as expected. Thank you for watching our video, and I hope it has demonstrated the powerful possibilities of Kismet and UnrealScript.